Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Vol Society Live on this Tuesday night. My name is David Morrison from the Vol Society, here to bring you another exciting edition of Vol Society Live. This is your show. This is for our Vol Society followers across our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, X, all everywhere. This is your chance to be heard with your questions, your comments. The chat room is officially open, and we're going to read your questions, your comments, everything tonight. Give shout outs along the way. This is your chance to be heard. Obviously, we're going to be talking quite a bit of basketball in the same time. Particularly, Tennessee starts a 4-game gauntlet to end the season as they try to win an SEC championship. And it starts tomorrow night as Tennessee welcomes in the Auburn Tigers for a 7 o'clock tip-off on ESPN2. Should be a lot of fun. Ronnie, watching us tonight, says, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? Well, Ronnie, we do have a podcast during the football season called Good Old Rocky Talk with myself, our founder, Brad Frank, and David D, another friend of ours, David Dees, and we do it during the football season. It is available. Matter of fact, I could probably pull it up right here on this graphic. It's available on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. Just look up Good Old Rocky Talk. That's where the podcast is. And like I said, obviously right now not football season going on, but so it's gonna be a little dated, but that's where we have right now. And who knows, maybe something else could pop along the way. But appreciate the question there. And like I said, you can be like Ronnie, leave any questions, comments, whatever you like to talk about, and yeah, we'll read it out tonight. Uh, Obviously, as I mentioned, Tennessee takes on Auburn tomorrow night at Thompson Bone Arena. Tennessee right now 21-6 on the season. Same record as Auburn. But I guess the only difference is just the rankings for the most part. But should be a lot of fun tomorrow night. Tennessee is a 5.5 point favorite uh, going into the game tomorrow night. Uh, Obviously Dalton Knecht, the man of the hour or the man of the season, if you will, averaging 20 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. And, we saw Tennessee this past Saturday put a whooping on Texas A&M. It was a nice revenge win for Tennessee. 86-51 the final score. We'll kind of recap that before we jump a little bit more into Auburn. But, yeah, it was a great showing by Tennessee. Came out strong, looked very confident, took care of business where they had to. Dalton Knecht ended up with 24 points. Jonas Adu, in my opinion, has probably been the most improved player on this team. Finished with 18 points, 14 rebounds on the game. Toby Awaka, 12 points coming off the bench. Very nice for him. Uh, let's see. Ziegler ended up with 9 points along with 9 rebounds and 14 assists. It's just pretty remarkable what he's done. Go back to your comments here. Ronnie says, as we have seen with Alabama, Saban retired. They needed to replace him. If Barnes were to retire in the next year or two, who would you want to replace him? It's a good question. You know, uh, I know I've had a conversation recently with my mother of all people in the world talking about what would happen to Rick Barnes. I guess like the first name that popped in my head, if that does happen, is Kim English out at Providence right now. Phil, watch this. Is good evening, David and Brad. Good evening to you, sir. But yeah, I would probably look at Kim English right now, who's at Providence, who was at it was on Rick Barnes' staff, went to George Mason, and had a little bit of success out there. Actually doing better now since he left and went to Providence. But that's probably the first name I would call. Michael Schwartz is at East Carolina, another guy on Rick Barnes' staff. But he's still kind of early in his tender, so that I would probably say Kim English would probably be one of the first names. There's really not any ex Vols that's really uh, that's coaching right now. Um, yeah, I would probably say Kim English for right now. I mean, you also got the likes of a Dusty May, who's at Florida Atlantic. That's going to be a hot name that's going to be floating around. It seems like he's kind of leaning towards maybe one of the Big Ten schools of Ohio State. And if Indiana does make a coaching change, he is an Indiana alum. That could be something there. But that's probably the first two off the top of my head: Kim English and Dusty May. Let's see here. Miss K watching us, our Vol Society mom, says, so disappointed with the Lady Vols. Wish they could rebound, and I need to see some more energy. I agree. It was a tough showing for the Lady Vols this past Sunday. Yeah, and it just seems like there's just not a lot of energy in a lot of games, unfortunately, Miss K. Uh, it just seems like it just kind of relies on one player. And that's Jasmine Powell. Hello to my grandparents watching along. Give them a shout out. Like I said, keep the comments and the questions coming. Like I said, like Ronnie's asked a couple tonight, and I'll give you some shout outs along the way. Don't forget to like the Facebook page or YouTube. I can see the Facebook likes more than the YouTube, but that's all good. So I'll give you a shout out there. But yeah, like kind of switching a little, not switching gears a little much, but going back to kind of previewing what's coming up. Obviously, a big week for Tennessee basketball. Big 2 weeks coming up, and it starts with Auburn, number 11, coming into town. Auburn coming off a win Saturday against Georgia, 97-76, and then they end up taking one on the chin a couple Saturdays ago against Kentucky. So kind of like us a little bit. They're racking up some wins, but then they stub their toe along the way. But players to watch out for tomorrow night: Janai Broome averaging 16 points, 8 rebounds per game, leads both categories there. You also got guys like Jalen Williams, which I believe he was hurt. Oh, yeah, he's been hurt. So Jay Williams, who's been their second leading scorer, unfortunately, he got hurt in that Kentucky game, so it doesn't look like he's going to go. Just remember seeing that. But it looks like they're going to rely on Janai Broome, so Tennessee's going to have to find a way to shut him down. Tennessee's done a very good job at home shutting down these leading scorers for the most part. Even going back to the Illinois game, they kind of shut down Terrence Shannon a little bit, although I think he ended up leading with scoring. But they did a good job containing Mark Sears. They've done a great job containing Wade Taylor the other night, although he got hot early on. But they've done a good job doing that, so we'll see what happens in that one. Ms. K says, what about Kentucky Hill and Alabama? Wow. Yeah, that was a big eye opener right there. That I know, and I know Alabama now is going to be in win mode when they play us on Saturday. But it was very nice for Vol fans. I mean, we were secretly rooting for Kentucky to get the win so we can be tied for first place with Alabama. But yeah, definitely a great showing for the Cats. I guess give credit where credit's due. We'll see how they do going into the tournament. It seems like they've got the team to make a potential Final Four run, but there's also some inconsistency with this team, with that team, I should say. So, we'll see. They're kind of I really don't know what to expect from them in March Madness. Phil says Tobe has improved a lot with his game. He has done a great job, and I think I would also give credit to Jonas Aidoo. Both the center positions have really complemented each other very well. We talked about Aidoo all season, but yeah, Tobe has done a great job too, as coming off the bench and picking up where Aidoo left off. I even say JP Estrella's done a good job. And that was my big concern, Phil, going into the season. I think I mentioned this before, was the post position. Like, who was really going to – it was Aidoo really going to step up and take control of that? Can Tobe Awaka and, maybe – I thought maybe not Estrella at the time would rise the occasion at this time, but maybe James may be moving into the 5 and playing that. But they totally blow my expectations out of the way, and both have done a great job. And I'm very excited to see Tobe finally taking over that center position when Adu goes wherever he goes. I mean, Jonas Adu's still got another year to go. My personal guess, or my personal opinion, is I could see him testing the NBA Combine Draft this upcoming summer, and obviously, if he gets a high grade, I think he's gone. Uh, but if not, I can see him kind of do a similar situation that Triple J and Sandy has done, and just come back and play for another year. So we'll see. I mean, I like that what the NBA does with their combines is, you can go to their training camp, go to their combine, as long as you don't sign with an agent, and if you don't get a good draft grade back, or if you don't feel comfortable, then you can go back to college and play on your team, or I guess hit the transfer portal. And then Phil continues on, says, I think Coach Barnes needs to play both big man. Yeah, that would be really cool to see, to really size up the post play. But I think he's very comfortable just having one big out there, just in case one of them does get into foul trouble. And if you do play both Tobe and Adu, then you're going to have to rely more on Estrella, or really switch it up and maybe add another guard in there. Um, it'd be cool to see, but I understand the reasoning why Coach Barnes doesn't do it. Kay says, glad to see Coach get his 800th win. Yeah, very happy for Coach Barnes, 800 career wins. He's coached at many different places, from matter of fact, George Mason in Providence. Kind of, we talked about Kim English there. Coached at Clemson, and he was at Texas for like 15 years, I believe. So he's seen it and done it all, and happy that he's here at the University of Tennessee. And I don't know if I mentioned this on the show, but I remember when Tennessee relieved Donnie Tyndall of his duties, and it looked like Tennessee basketball was about to go into some sort of probation, and Donnie Tyndall had some stuff going on. But anyways, I remember when he was let go and Coach Barnes was let go at Texas, I was thinking, boy, if Tennessee can find a way to get Rick Barnes to the University of Tennessee, I wasn't expecting us to win an SEC regular season championship, tournament championships, get high season NCAA tournament. But I'm thinking, man, if he can come in here and just lay the culture back to a good, respectable area, I think that'd be great for him. And he's just done fantastic, and very happy that he picked up his career win 800 here at Tennessee. And this could be I'm pretty sure this could be the final stop for Rick Barnes. Whenever that happens, we shall see. Kind of going back to Ronnie's question, what would happen in the next year or two if he does retire. And it seems like Coach Barnes, to me, seems like he's still healthy. It seems like he still loves coaching the game, loves teaching and developing young men. Even with the ever-changing world of college athletics, it seems like he still has it in him, from my perspective. But I do realize Coach Barnes, a very faithful man off the court, very humble with his family, his grandkids, his kids. So we only observe from what we see on TV and read online, but it just seems like he still has a passion for it. And hey, who knows? He could get 900 before his career ends, so you never know. But happy for him to get that. Continuing on those questions and comments, give a quick first shout out of the night to Richard. First shout out of the night, leaving us a like on the Facebook page. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. As we mentioned a big couple of weeks, we already talked about Auburn. And then coming up this Saturday, the start of back-to-back road games. We go to Alabama this Saturday for an 8 o'clock game on ESPN. College Game Day is going to be there. Must-win game for Alabama. They're right now 19-8 on the year, but they are tied with us for first place in the SEC. Of course, I know both teams. I think Bama does have a game this week before they play us. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they play tomorrow night at Ole Miss, so that's a pretty big game right there in itself. But point is, this game this Saturday, Tennessee and Alabama, more in my opinion, will clinch the SEC regular season championship. Now Tennessee already where they're at right now is going to get a double bye in the SEC tournament in Nashville coming up in less than 3 weeks. So, like I said, but I know this team really wants to salvage this great. Well, not really of a salvage, but really establish this as a fantastic season. We talked about the likes of Dalton Connect and just made it an instant impact on this team. The veterans returning back, Triple J, Santiago Vescovi, Jonas Adu really improving. Z coming back from his ACL injury, and then the guys on the bench making an impact of Toby Awaka, Jeremiah Meshack, and just seeing the emergence of these guys, and even Jordan Gainey, another guy that's uh, transferred in. It just seems like this team just seems very motivated to win the whole thing, and hopefully they can have that momentum and not peak too early, but just still kind of stay focused and win it one game at a time. Miss K says seems to have the integrity, has class. He's not all mouth. Coach thinks before he speaks. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned that, Miss K, because now he's in that uh, frame of his life where he kind of thinks before that. He was, I wouldn't say a hothead back then, and I mean, and even Coach Barnes has said this in multiple interviews, and I've listened to a podcast of his recently. Like back in his younger days, he would kind of think before he speaks, or maybe make a sly, sarcastic comment. But with the changing his life, finding Jesus in his life, and just completely now has done a 180, and just remarkable uh, what he has done, and just made an instant impact in a lot of lives of young men. That basketball is tied into it. Phil says, I don't believe Auburn can play as good on the road as they can the jungle. Yeah, I agree. And it seems like that's been the case, Phil, with a lot of SEC teams this year. It's just teams kind of struggling on the road, or just like getting blown out on the road. And we saw it with us the other night, blowing out Texas A&M at home, and when we went on the road, we got blown out too. But the same thing with Auburn. Pull Auburn's stats back up here. Auburn, you know, pulling up their schedule here. Apologize here. When was their last road game that they won the last two on the road? But yeah, it just seems like they really rely on the jungle at Auburn Arena, or Neville Arena is now called. It seems like they do a lot better there. Yeah, okay, now I found it. So they're 500 on the road at 4-4, but 13-1 at home. And even looking at the SEC standings from home and away, I mean it's clearly uh, day and night comparison. Like every SEC team that I see has at least just only one or two losses, except with some of the bottom feeder teams, and the road records are either right at 500 or under 500. So it's kind of been the case a lot this SEC season, and Auburn same thing. So hopefully Tennessee can go out and end up pulling out another dominating win tomorrow night, and then the gauntlet. I mean, the gauntlet starts tomorrow night, but then it really gets cranked into another gear going to Alabama, and then the following Wednesday at South Carolina, and then we wrap up the season at home March the 9th against Kentucky. Uh, that's that will be a 4 o'clock CBS game also. But yeah, just some great stuff coming up. Exciting time, and also a bit of time of anxiety, I guess you could say. Just what kind of Tennessee team's going to show up. I feel very confident. I'll say this: I don't know if we'll go 4-0 in this stretch. I think that Alabama game does get me nervous, a little bit. I feel confident about Auburn tomorrow night. I feel confident going on the road to South Carolina and picking out a win. I think Tennessee sees revenge mode on that since they dropped one at home to them. Matter of fact, it's the only home loss we have so far is against South Carolina. And then Kentucky, just all depends on if they are really peaking at the right time. And we saw how they did against Alabama at home. And matter of fact, as I say that, uh, Kentucky's trailing Mississippi State 52-45 right now with 15 minutes to go in the second half. So there you go. I mean, it's just team struggling on the road and picking out a big win at home and dominating win, and then just struggling the next game. But we'll see what happens there. Um, but looking at the SEC standings as of this moment, like I said, Tennessee and Alabama both tied for first place. And then Auburn and South Carolina only a game behind first place with a 10-4 record. Bama and Tennessee with 11-3 record. And then Florida, I think Florida is going to be a sleeper of a team when we get into tournament time, SEC tournament time. That's, to me, that's the team I do not want to meet in Nashville. And I'm afraid we may end up getting there. But right now, Florida is 19-8, 9-5 in SEC play. They're 2 games out of first place. But they are really playing their best basketball at the right time. We were just so fortunate to play Florida that week of the big snowmageddon we had and moved the tip-off time a couple hours earlier. And, Florida had some, I would say, had a little bit of a challenge getting into town to play this game. We just caught them at, I guess you could say a good time. But, I think Florida right now is more of a sleeper team. Kentucky can be that once we get into Nashville, but to me, I probably wouldn't play. I would not want to play Florida at this moment. But some great teams across the SEC for the most part. Any other questions or comments tonight? Like I said, this is your show too. Your chance to ask questions, get shout outs, comments, discussion, if you will. But anyways, kind of preview. Let's go ahead and kind of preview the rest of this schedule here, and we're gonna. And next Tuesday night we'll be back here to preview South Carolina and Kentucky as we really wrap up this season. But let's talk about Alabama really quick here. Alabama, we've already played them one time this year, and we ended up playing them when we played them back in January. Yeah, we ended up playing it back in January. January the 20th, was Tennessee won 91-71 in that game. Mark Sears ended up with 22 points. Actually had a pretty good game. Now I remember. Dalton Knecht had 25 in that contest. But really, I remember Tennessee just kind of handling business throughout that whole game. And now as we jump into this contest coming up, Mark Sears is still their best player. Aaron Estrella, the senior, really has done a good job. He's averaging 13 a game with 4 assists as he leads the team. Grant Nelson leads the team in rebounds for them. So, and going to their place on Saturday night, they are looking for revenge from the dropping one on the road. I mean, this is going to be for the SEC regular season championship, in my opinion. Obviously, Tennessee wants it, but Alabama definitely wants it too. Alabama has, for the most part, been the best team in the SEC, the most consistent team in the SEC in the last 3 years, in my opinion, winning a couple of SEC tournaments along the way, some regular season championships. So this is going to be a tough test, but Tennessee's had their number in the past, but they've beat us too. So should be a very interesting contest coming up this Saturday night. Some great games coming up this weekend, really, across the SEC. We'll talk about that on Fast Break Friday coming up. But you have Florida going to South Carolina for a 12 o'clock game. You got Kentucky hosting Arkansas, which Arkansas has been awful this year. So I'm not expecting much of that game. yeah, you got LSU, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State going to Auburn Saturday, A&M at Georgia, and Ole Miss at Mizzou. So as we take shape in finding out who are going to be the 1 through 14 in the SEC tournament coming up here in, like I said, less than 3 weeks in Nashville, and we're less than 30 days away from March Madness. So a lot of games still to play, but some for the most part, the games are getting a lot more important. And then as far as the games this week, you got Georgia and LSU playing right now in Baton Rouge. LSU's up 49-44. Vandy at Arkansas tonight. And then 4 games tomorrow, with the highlight being Auburn and Tennessee. South Carolina's going to A&M. Mizzou's at Florida, and Alabama at Ole Miss. So definitely Auburn and Tennessee is going to be a big one, but that Alabama Ole Miss game could be interesting. Hopefully Alabama's looking ahead to us on Saturday and not don't go to Ole Miss and blow them out, but probably will happen. Shout out to Jose's mama watching us, leaving us a like on the Facebook page. Any comments or questions about the upcoming games, or if you want to talk anything else sports related across Tennessee, or anything else, whatever is on your mind. I've been trying to do something the last couple of weeks on Vol Society, and it seems like it's doing fairly well. I'm still trying to work it out a little bit, but Monday morning, let me kind of back up here a second. There's a lot of sports going on right now across the University of Tennessee. We're ending basketball season, baseball season starting up. You got softball's in full swing, and a lot of the spring sports. So Monday mornings, what I'm trying to do, and I'm still working to get out and testing, and it seems like it's doing fairly well, is I'm going to kind of do like a weekend recap, because there's a lot of sports going on, and it'd be kind of a lot of information to keep posting on Vol Society. So what I'm trying to do is kind of put it in a compact notes of like weekend highlights. So I'm just going to be doing it up until really basketball season ends, and then we'll kind of break it out. But with a lot of stuff going on, we're going to every Monday morning I'm going to have like some weekend highlights, headlines of all the sports going on. So if you're kind of wondering, like, why doesn't Dave post that Lady Vol score, or what about the baseball team going on this weekend, or the big softball tournament? I'm going to kind of like compact that on Monday mornings to highlight of everything going on. So hopefully you're enjoying. Seems like a lot of Vol Society is enjoying that, and even saying, "Hey, you forgot about this and that." And hopefully I'll get a little bit better in learning that too. But hopefully y'all enjoy that coming up. And then once basketball kind of ends, and we'll still post the men's basketball score once they go final, obviously. But it was something I was trying to work out and see how it does. And and just like I said, kind of just more compact, if you will. Anything else going on? Like I said, continue your comments and your questions if you want to. Of course, I mentioned we have Fast Break Friday coming up this Friday at noon. As I quickly preview the college basketball games coming up, we'll be doing that for at least 4 more episodes coming up, and then we'll be done with these weekend preview shows up until football season. But a lot of busy stuff going on at the University of Tennessee right now, and hopefully, like I said, just continue to follow Vol Society as we try to bring you the best content out there. All right, I think we're kind of quiet here tonight, but that's all good. I guess we'll kind of go ahead and start wrapping up a little bit here. Thank you for everybody tuning in to Vol Society Live tonight. Like I said, we're going to be back next Tuesday night. We're going to preview South Carolina and Kentucky as we finish out this SEC regular season. Thank you, Phil. Have a great night to you. Um, like I said, we'll be back next Tuesday night. Like I said, please follow Vol Society. Like I said, we'll have Fast Break Friday coming up Friday at noon, quickly previewing those college basketball games. And then Monday mornings, we'll kind of have that little weekend recap on the Facebook page, just kind of going on with everything going on at the University of Tennessee and anything else that will happen. Like I said, make sure you follow our social media pages. As they crawling across the screen. Also, the Vol Society store is still open too, so please check that out on your way out. And of course, also, hey, go back and listen to the podcast from the football season too. I mean, we appreciate that too. We still get downloads for that, which is pretty remarkable on that. Especially listening to that Jose episode. It's really good. I appreciate each and every one of you. Be kind to each other, including myself. And, please, take care of each other. And appreciate each and every one of you. Very grateful for you. And we'll talk to y'all next week right here on Vol Society Live, right here on the Vol Society Network. Have a great night.